created this altar behind me and this whole space. So one time we had driven back to her home in LA, and we were driving back, and it was around 11 p.m. or midnight. It was late. And she stopped the car sort of in the desert area where you drive for about 20 minutes before you get to the center, and it's dirt road. And she stopped the car in the middle of the road. And I'm like, oh, wow, maybe she needs to pee and she can't hold it in any longer. And she got out of the car and she went to the side of the road. And then I saw her picking up a stone in the headlights of the car and carrying it to the other side, and like bending her knees and putting it down, and then picking it up again and carrying it over to the other side of the road. And I was like, what is she doing? And so I waited, not particularly mindfully, for her to come back into the car. And I said, Ruth, what are you doing? And she said, I noticed that I was having difficulty being mindful. So I wanted to give my body and my mind a stronger experience to call me back. And that just seared itself into my mind, that kind of dedication to wanting to be present. And the beauty of that dedication is that it reflects back what we were calling into being last night in the refuges and in the precepts. That willingness to become undefended enough to want to hold our being in our hands of love, or to intend to. And that commitment of being willing to feel, not necessarily now, but in the orienting towards being willing to feel that I am deserving of love. I am deserving of finding my place in life and in the world, my home. And I know that all of us in one way or another have had touches of that feeling already, because this whole practice rests on the capacity and the experience we already have had, and we're strengthening and lifting that up. So whether it's a beautiful sunset, or lying in bed, or touching and stroking a pet, or being with someone who's dying, or the many, many other experiences where we have felt, in this moment, I know where I am, and I'm connected. I'm filled with the opposite of being lost and dislocated. And this practice is dedicated to lifting up those capacities that we have inside of ourselves. And I would say that one of the most important parts of this lifting up is that we are here to continue to remind each other that we have that capacity and that vision. Because when we lose the vision, then we've lost the practice, right? So it's that remembering and remembering, I'm here. For me, I could say I'm here to save myself or to heal myself. I'm here to save and heal the world as well, actually. But that has come later in my practice, in a way. So then it's like, yes, I want to, but what's the mechanism of that? And Ian gave us a beautiful guidance yesterday evening about being present and knowing the experience. And so the Buddha was very specific, and the lineage of teachers who have come home are very specific about, well, what is it that we're lifting up and calling into being on this path? And wonderful, what's the word? Someone who studied the texts a lot, called Analia, translated the word mindfulness as placing near. And I love that, of that we're placing near this knowing, and a knowing that's imbued with caring or friendship. I'm placing myself near myself. I haven't split the scene. And even if I have split the scene, or even if I am dissociated, I'm placing myself near that in any way that I can. So this placing near, which why the word saving comes to me, because sometimes it feels like I'm in the middle of the ocean, you know, gasping for breath, and I'm throwing the lifeline. I'm placing myself near to myself wherever I am, wherever I am. And we have offered some different technologies already, and some of you who are senior practitioners know many of them. But just to say, in a way, it doesn't matter how you find yourself. As long as you find yourself, that is the lifting up. So it might be sometimes that you have to count, or you sing a song to yourself while we're all sitting together. There isn't a limit to the creativity that we can offer, as well as using the body and the breath and sound. Over this week, we will offer different ways and technologies to place ourselves near to ourselves, to take ourselves in our hands and say, yes, I'm here with you. And the traditional word for that is mindfulness. So mindfulness holds the vision as general comprehension. I know why I'm doing this. And then to place it again as another context, because both contexts are important to me, of not abandoning myself, of placing myself near myself, because this is the life I've been given, and also so that I can place myself in the world. I can place myself near the world, save the world, that save it from oppression, war, in any of the ways that we as we part of social movements have already. So holding that vision, placing ourselves near, and then the mechanism for it is to remember, which is the Pali classical definition of mindfulness, is to remember. So the simile that the Abhidharma gives is that we're not a cork being blown this way and that on the ocean without any anchoring. We are remembering, oh, I remember to know what my experience is, and to care, or to be friendly, or to be kind. Or if I can't be any of those things, part of mindfulness's capacity and the definition of mindfulness, as we know our experience, is to know if there's anything in our mind state, any habitual stories or energies that actually takes us away, that captures our energies and moves our energies out into whatever story it is. And that's the opposite of mindfulness. And so it's considered an obstacle when we're caught in whatever conditioned habitual story we find ourselves in, right? And it stops being an obstacle as soon as we know that. That's the power of the healing and the liberatory qualities as we keep in disentangling from those stories, which are mostly negative. All of them are negative. That's the definition of a story. That capture us and hold us, enclose us. And it takes such incredible humility to say, okay, I know you so well. I know you so well. Story of judgment. And it's okay. And I'm coming into a knowing relationship. For me at the moment, it could be the sound, it could be the temperature, it could be whatever posture I'm in, it could be in my seeing. I'm coming back through the sense spaces of my body to this moment. And then I'm on the path again. And so in this mindfulness, we're constantly beginning again to extricate ourselves away from the negative stories and to come back to the body. And in the body, we can feel the imprint of those stories. And then there's even a deeper healing, like how does it feel in my body? Tightness, hardness, tension, contraction. And can I know that? Can I know that place? And I am not saying stories are bad. I'm just saying that there are ways that capture us and take us away from being present to ourselves. And it's the presence that's the great healer, that knowing. And so you're probably gathering already that that knowing isn't a kind of habitual knowing. You know, like when we're driving and we see a traffic light and it's red, we know it's red, but it doesn't feel like we're being fully present, or that we know that we're knowing, or that necessarily we're feeling appreciative and friendly to whoever designed the traffic light and for the energy of the people who put the traffic light in place, and that I'm using the blood of, or the fuel of the earth to drive as part of my path of Dharma. That would be mindfulness. But there's a kind of basic habitual knowing that isn't mindfulness. And so you maybe can begin to feel the difference of that general comprehension of I know what I'm doing. And in that knowing of knowing, or the fullness of knowing, then there is a caring and an appreciation and a comprehension of the interrelatedness of every single condition I find myself in. And so sometimes when we eat, that's more accessible. Like I appreciate that the earth has given me the rich gifts of food, and I appreciate the farm workers and the waters that were taken for this food, and offer the prayer that all beings might have enough food, knowing that it isn't just this isolated thing that's happening, but context in a relatedness. And so maybe then in the ways that we pray or are artistic or dance or make love, the power that Booker was talking about, it's related. And the knowing is the mechanism, the mindfulness is the mechanism of relatedness. And so when we find ourselves related in that ways, we can turn and acknowledge, oh, I'm mindful in the moment. This is the power, the engine of transformation and liberation. So we can be mindful and knowing of anything at any point in time because we're alive. It could be through hearing or seeing, the feeling of touch of clothes on our body, or the feeling of the touch of breath. or any other sensation in the body. It could be that we know pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, which is associated with every moment of experience. It could be that we turn our knowing to our thoughts and all our stories, and we just keep knowing those. It could be that we know the beautiful energies, the moments of generosity and love and joy and collectedness of the mind. So that knowing can know anything that has to do with life. That's its capacity. And so we take coming together and using our bodies for the first few days in particular as a beginning gateway, but it's not the only gateway. And so know that. Know if you need to come near to yourself by singing a song over and over again, I've done that, then that's fine. Okay, so I want to just say one other thing about the knowing for those that have been practicing, for all of us as a reminder. We are invited in this knowing to know, for me, but the Buddha doesn't say this, so I'm saying it, 4 things in particular, that we're knowing to know in particular that things are changing all the time, that there's no solidity. So it's not just that we know with this perspective that they are inherently unsatisfactory and that I can love whatever I'm knowing. That's the one that I'm emphasizing. And all 4 of those are gateways, for particular gateways for liberation. So when I know I'm not caring or being friendly or loving, then I know I am in conditioned, isolated, distorted reality. And that's, or when I'm discerning things as solid, like I'm just me and separate, or when I have the sense that this is never going to change, distorted, untrue, misperception of reality, or that I'm alone and not connected, interconnected, part of life, distorted reality. So we're knowing with this particular invitation. Sometimes just knowing is good enough, but if you happen to find yourself quieter and more collected, where the knowing's stronger, then this is a great invitation for those of you who have been practicing a while. Okay. Okay, so thank you for your patience in holding through with my taking time at the beginning of the retreat to frame a little bit what we're doing. And I wanted, I'll do this at the end. So let's find as we find a comfortable position, or relatively comfortable. Some of us are in pain a lot, so then we just open to how that is too, right? Whatever feels most appropriate for us. And out of everything you've heard us say, or anything that you describe for yourself, that is your vision, that is inspiring you, then now to take the next 15 minutes or 14 minutes to practice. connecting with that, just taking a moment to appreciate the vision that you're carrying, whatever that is, whatever your intention is, to appreciate that. And give a moment to feel your appreciation. That you are caring for yourself and others. Or if you don't feel appreciation, you can dedicate your efforts to someone and appreciate that. I'm going to begin by inviting us to open to and know the sound of bells. Relaxing, sound is there. Let the knowing come. We don't have to make the knowing happen. Inviting a relaxation into the support that the earth is giving you. Always, always supporting us. Not reaching for anything right now. And then, depending on what works for you, you can stay with sound and the different sounds that come and go. Giving space for the knowing to know the sounds. Or if you feel called, opening to the body sensations according to your posture. Let's take a few minutes, if you're with the body, together to acknowledge where the feet are, where they're resting, and the sensations there. Again, giving space for those sensations to live, pressure, hardness, and it's not as though we're so separate. We know it as though we're vulnerable and allowing the sensations their space to live inside our being. whether they're pleasant or unpleasant. Notice the touch of cloth or air against the lower legs. How sensitive the skin is to that touch. Staying alert and connected, nearby, present. Experiencing the knees, and if they're bent, that's stretching. There might be other sensations there at the knees or underneath the knees. Listening in the same way we listen to sound, listening into the sensations of the life in our body. It's there. If it's helpful, you can open your eyes. Sometimes that helps the connection to happen. And acknowledging the thighs. Warm or cold. Vibration, tingling. Pressure, hard, soft. And the buttocks. Staying close, nearby. Vulnerable listening. Pressure, hardness, vibration, tingling. Acknowledging the back, whether you're lying down and the pressure on the back, or standing or sitting. Then the touch of cloth or air. And the shoulders, place where there might be tightness, giving space for that tightness. And how the skin of the armpits touches cloth or other skin, the warmth there, often warmer than other parts of the body in the armpits. How sensitive that skin is. Can you feel the aliveness in the arms? And if you can't, no problem. Then you can just imagine the arms and let that image be placed exactly where your arms are and open your eyes. That's fine too. And feeling the hands where they're being placed, that touch. The hands that help us so much, even if they're arthritic and in pain. They help so much navigating life in the world. take a moment and open to the whole sitting and the sounds again, relaxing, just in case there was a little too much focus and trying. Appreciating and caring for ourselves and our efforts. And caring for all the organs in our abdominal cavity and chest cavity, for everything they offer us and the life there. Warmth, vibration, touch of cloth on the skin. Including the throat and the tongue. Notice the tongue, its warmth and wetness. And it might be the tip of the tongue is touching the teeth. How it's lying in the mouth, relaxed or tense, either is fine. And in the background, feeling how the breath is moving the body. Stay with the tongue a moment longer, with the breath in the background. Allowing the breath to cascade through the body. Thank you.